Hello and welcome back to our AT YouTube channel. I'm Charis, in case you forgot, and just because everyone is so excited about DP1, today's video is going to be on the dreaded DP week, so I hope you enjoy. So I think the first thing that got me down about DP week was actually just the idea of sitting down and writing a paper for 6 hours and you have no idea what to expect, you don't know what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to walk you guys through what the actual day is going to look like first of all, and then I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to approach studying and how to approach writing the actual test. On the day, you're going to get there at 8 o'clock. It's more than likely going to be written at Heinz Betts. And it's a fairly relaxed environment. You can walk in, you can put all your stuff down because you can have a giant suitcase of standards. I was just taking all your standards and also taking in your illustrative examples for accounting. Those can come in useful if you happen to forget a format or something like that. So take those in. And then, yeah, I just dumped everything of mine into a suitcase. It looked like I was going on holiday. And yeah, I think we weighed it and it's about 11 kilograms of information. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And then, yeah, you just put everything into your suitcase. You get into the venue, you put your books down, you put your snacks down. I would definitely suggest taking snacks because you can't sit there writing for 6 hours without eating. You might pass out and that's not going to end well. So definitely take some snacks. And when you get into the venue, you'll see your answer books are generally going to be on your desk. There'll be 2 answer books on your desk. And then once everyone's seated, they'll hand out the paper, and the paper will have 2 questions. Question 1 will be, for example, accounting. Question 2 will be, for example, auditing. And then you'll notice that auditing and MANAC scenarios are usually way longer than the others. Accounting and tax are usually 1 to 3 pages, but if it's MANAC and auditing, it's going to be a longer scenario. So you're going to get half an hour's reading time and then 2.5 hours writing time. And in that half an hour reading time, you're going to split your reading time 15 minutes, 15 minutes. So you're going to spend 15 minutes on MANAC and 15 minutes on accounting. I would suggest starting with the longest scenario first, just so that you get that out of the way, and then move on to the shortest scenario. If they're 2 long scenarios, then just pick one. During your reading time, the invigilators will hand out the required, and that will be placed face down next to you. You can't look at it until your reading time is over. When it's over, you open it and you read through it 5 times to make sure you are answering. Yeah, you're going to read through the required 5 times to make sure you're answering it correctly. And then after that, you'll have 2.5 hours of writing time, which you split evenly between the 2 modules. After your first session, you'll then have a break, which is usually around half an hour long. And then after that, there'll be another session, which is exactly the same as the first session. So I'm going to talk now about how you actually approach the test itself. I think that's obviously a very scary part as well. It's the most important part. But I think the biggest thing for me is just having confidence in yourself. You have done the work. I know that every single one of you has been working incredibly hard. So you've been putting in the work every single week, and you need to trust that that process is working. You need to trust that you've been doing something right, that your hard work is going to pay off first of all. And I think, yeah, just don't see yourself failing. Don't see failing as an obstacle in your way. Just see it as a learning opportunity. So when you're actually writing the test, I think we'll start with reading time. So reading time, you read through the scenario, you try and identify all the key issues. You maybe start doing some calculations, but I would suggest not making too many assumptions. Like, you can't read through the whole thing and then say, oh, they're obviously going to ask a code question. Okay, you will never know exactly what to expect. I made that mistake in my DP1, in my MANAC test. I assumed that they wanted us to calculate the cost per unit. So I literally did I calculated the whole thing in my reading time. And by the time I got the required, I didn't even read the required properly, and I just assumed that it was the cost per unit. Meanwhile, it was the cost per kilogram, and then that cost me quite a few marks. But that was just a silly mistake. Just read properly and don't make too many assumptions. Then, when you are actually writing, I think it's really, really crucial to actually just stick to the allocated time. So don't spend 5 extra minutes on accounting and then sacrifice 5 minutes in auditing. You need to be strict with yourself and say, okay, 75 minutes is up, I now need to move on. Okay, so just it's also been statistically proven that like as your time goes on, you're going to be earning less marks. So the more time you spend is going to cost you, because there's less of a chance of you actually getting any marks, because you get most of your marks in the first half of the question. You get most of the marks that you are able to get in the first half of the question. So please don't sacrifice any time. Be strict with your time management. Even if you don't finish the question, move on. It's better to get 50% for a whole test than 50% for part A of a test. And then I think also just when you're writing, you've just got to go in with the mindset that it's going to be a question that you've never seen before. It's probably going to throw you off, and that's fine, because you've learned your work, you're confident in yourself, and you can do it. Someone once said to me that you've just got to remember that a DP test is going to slap you in the face, but the question is, are you going to slap it back? So just be confident in yourself and just do it. You can do it. And then after session 1, it's usually pretty relaxed. You can leave the venue and they'll collect your scripts, and then everyone runs to the bathroom. There's always a huge queue at the bathroom, and just take the time to kind of have a break. Don't talk about what you've just written in the test with your friends. Talk about anything other than the test. Eat some food, because you're probably going to be starving by then. Go to the bathroom. Something that I would definitely not recommend is studying in that break, because just think about the way you feel after a 3-hour exam. You're exhausted, and now you want to go study again and then write another whole 3-hour test. That's just not going to be productive, and it's really not worth it. And then that's pretty much all I want to say as far as the writing of the test goes. I think the next thing I want to discuss is actually the DP week itself, leading up to the DP test. So what I used to do is, in my normal schedule, I would build in specific times for rest. So I'd build in time in the evenings, and I'd build in time on the weekends for rest and not studying. So when DP tests came, I would use that extra time for actually working and studying for the test. I think the most important thing is just realizing that the DP test is not like the be-all and end-all of everything. So your first priority should actually be staying up to date with your current week's work. And I know it's really difficult, because all you want to do is study for DP test, but you'd actually just try and stay up to date with your lectures and your assignments first of all, because you'll still have assignments due in DP week. And then what I would do is just in the evenings maybe spend some time actually studying your work. You'll also realize that there's not a huge amount of time to study. So what I would do is for each week of work, I would pick like one key assignment that you feel like is a good practice assignment and was something that was difficult and that you struggled with for that topic. And then I would do that assignment under exam conditions, and then mark it and reflect on your marking, and then look at what you did wrong, and then go and study that, the things that you got wrong if necessary. I would then also recommend actually practicing new questions. So if you can, practicing past papers where relevant, under exam conditions, just to kind of get yourself comfortable with how the test is actually going to look. That's what I found to be really important, is actually just looking at what will the test actually look like, and practicing my reading time under exam conditions, and practicing writing time and time management under exam conditions. I think that's crucial as well. And then also, you could even go so far as to go over some ITC questions, but I wouldn't really do that for DP1 yet, maybe for exams, because the goal of CTA is to be able to write the ITC, so that's kind of the level that you're expected to be at. But for DP1, don't worry about that yet. Yeah, so just practicing under exam conditions, not practicing too much. I think quality over quantity is better. And then the day before the DP test, what I would do is I would practice maybe half of a DP test, so just one session. And then I would actually try as far as possible to take the rest of the day off, because your Saturday is going to be packed and you're going to be exhausted at the end. And you need all the brain power you can get. So do not stay up studying till 12 in the evening. That's just, it's going to cost you in your test, and it's really not worth it. So definitely just spend some time resting and make sure you eat a good breakfast on the morning of the test. Yeah, and then for me, it always just helps to put things into perspective. So it's really going to be okay. DP1 is probably going to be a learning curve for you, but that's okay. You've got 3 other tests still coming. And yeah, I think you just need to put things into perspective. And what helped me was I calculated how much all of my DP tests combined would actually count for my final mark. And I think it comes to something like 3% of your final mark, if I'm not mistaken. And that's tiny. So don't stress yourself to the bone just based on that 3%. Rather see DP tests as an opportunity to practice for your exams, not something that you need to do 100%, because that's just, it's not. Yeah, don't create unnecessary drama in your life. Okay, that brings us to the end of the video. I won't take any more of your time because I know you want to go and study. So yeah, I'll just wish you the best of luck. You can do it.